Did you know? The first American pope wasn't born in the marble halls of Rome, but right in the heart of Chicago, a city of towering skylines, busy streets, and humble neighborhoods. From those modest beginnings, a boy named Robert Francis Prevost began a journey that no one could have predicted. A journey that would cross continents, bridge cultures, and one day lead him to sit on the highest seat of spiritual leadership, the papal throne. But beyond the headlines, beyond the grand ceremonies, lies a story of hidden struggles, unexpected turns, and an unshakable faith that endured through it all. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover are 10 untold facts about Pope Leo XIV, stories that might just change the way you see faith, leadership, and the quiet power of humility. Are you ready? Let's begin. Fact 1, the first American Pope. Imagine this: a boy born not in the cobbled streets of Rome, but among the soaring skylines and humble neighborhoods of Chicago. Who would have thought that this boy, Robert Francis Prevost, would one day walk through the grand halls of the Vatican? Not as a visitor, but as Pope Leo XIV, the very first American to hold the most sacred seat in the Catholic Church. In 2025, history didn't just turn a page, it wrote an entirely new chapter. For centuries, the path to the papacy seemed carved in the marble traditions of Europe. But this time, the winds of change carried a name from across the Atlantic. Prevost's rise wasn't just about geography. It was a testament to the boundless reach of faith and the belief that no matter where you start, destiny can find you if you stand ready to answer its call. Because sometimes, the most unexpected stories are the ones that change the world forever. Fact 2, a family of many cultures. What shapes a man who will one day guide millions? Sometimes it begins not with power or prestige, but around a simple dinner table. Robert Francis Prevost grew up in a household where every conversation was a journey across continents. His father's French heritage, his mother's Spanish and Italian roots. Each culture brought a new flavor to his life, quite literally. Imagine it. One evening, filled with the warm aroma of Spanish paella, the next, the delicate sweetness of Italian pastries. And through it all, the deep values of faith, humility, and service were passed down. One meal, one story, one heartfelt blessing at a time. In that small Chicago home, he didn't just learn how to pray. He learned how to listen, to understand that every culture, every language, every person has a story worth hearing. And perhaps that's why, when the time came to lead not just a nation, but a global faith, he led with a heart open wide to every corner of the world. Fact 3, from mathematics to theology. How does a mind built for logic, ninth, find its calling in the mysteries of faith? Before he wore the white robes of a spiritual leader, Robert Francis Prevost wore a very different title: mathematician. He earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics, fascinated by the beauty of numbers, the perfection of patterns, the certainty of equations. But life isn't always an equation you can solve. Somewhere between the precision of numbers and the unpredictability of the human heart, Prevost found a different kind of truth. One that couldn't be measured, but could be deeply felt. He traded the certainty of formulas for the boundless questions of theology, from solving for X to pondering the infinite why. And perhaps that's what made his faith so unshakable. because he understood that sometimes the greatest truths are found not by calculating, but by believing. Fact 4. A missionary's heart in Peru. Not all journeys of faith begin at the altar. Some begin under the open sky in the quiet villages of Peru, before the grand halls of the Vatican ever echoed his footsteps. Robert Francis Prevost walked the dusty roads of a distant land with nothing but hope in his heart and faith as his guide. For over a decade, he lived among the people of Peru. He wasn't a figure on a stage. He was a teacher under the shade of trees, a mentor seated beside future priests in modest chapels, a friend who shared in their joys and their silent struggles. There he discovered something profound, that true leadership isn't about standing above others, but walking humbly beside them, in the simplicity of those Peruvian villages. He found a calling deeper than titles, a mission that would shape the heart of the man the world would one day call Pope. Fact 5. Leader of the Augustinian order. Leadership doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it begins with a quiet call and the courage to answer it. In 2001, Robert Francis Prevost was entrusted with one of the most significant roles in the Catholic world. He became the global leader of the Augustinian order, a role steeped in history, a responsibility shaped by centuries of tradition. But Prevost didn't lead from behind grand desks or within towering cathedrals. He led from the front lines of human connection. He visited struggling communities. He sat with the unheard voices, and he reminded his fellow brothers that true leadership is not about command. It's about compassion. For 12 years, his vision reshaped the Augustinian order. He fostered new generations of leaders, bridged divides across continents, and quietly planted seeds of change that would bear fruit long after his term ended. And perhaps that's the mark of a true leader: to lead not for recognition, but to leave behind a legacy of service. Fact 6. A new citizen of Peru. Some places don't just welcome you, they claim a piece of your heart. For Robert Francis Prevost, that place was Peru. After years of walking its sunlit streets, teaching under its vast open skies, and sharing moments of joy and sorrow with its people, Peru became more than a mission field. It became home. In 2015, in a gesture that spoke louder than any words, he became a citizen of the very land he had served so humbly. It wasn't a political statement. It was a declaration of love, an act of belonging, and a quiet promise that no matter where life would lead him next, a part of his heart would always remain in Peru. Because sometimes home isn't just where you were born, it's where your soul finds peace. Fact 7. Champion of social justice. Some leaders speak from podiums. Others speak through their actions, long before the world called him Pope. Robert Francis Prevost stood alongside the forgotten, the displaced, the unheard. He believed that dignity is not a privilege, it's a birthright. In the crowded streets where immigrants searched for hope, in shelters where the homeless sought warmth, Prevost wasn't just a visitor, he was present, listening, comforting, advocating. He raised his voice not to divide, but to unite, to remind the powerful that true greatness is found in how we treat the least among us. And even now, as Pope Leo XIV, he carries that same conviction that the walls we build between us are far less important than the bridges we choose to cross. Fact 8. Master of languages. Some people learn languages to travel the world. But Robert Francis Prevost, he learned them to reach hearts. English was his native tongue. But that was just the beginning. He mastered Spanish, spoke Italian with ease, held conversations in French and Portuguese, and could read the ancient beauty of Latin, even the complexities of German. But for him, language was never just about words. It was about connection, the ability to sit with someone and greet them in the language of their heart. He believed that every language opened a new door, a doorway to understanding, to compassion, to peace. And so wherever he went, he didn't just speak, he connected. Because in the end, the greatest fluency is the language of kindness. Fact 9. The fastest path to the papacy. Some destinies take a lifetime to unfold. But for Robert Francis Prevost, it happened in the blink of history's eye. In less than 2 years, he rose from being appointed a cardinal to becoming Pope Leo XIV, a path so swift, so unprecedented. It left even the most seasoned Vatican watchers speechless. But his rise wasn't fueled by ambition. It was built on years, decades of quiet service. The world saw a rapid ascent, but what they didn't see were the countless unseen moments, the silent sacrifices, the tireless acts of compassion, the faith that never wavered. And maybe that's the real lesson. When preparation meets the perfect moment, history is made in an instant. Fact 10. The simplicity of a great leader. In a world obsessed with grandeur, some leaders choose simplicity. Even as the most powerful spiritual figure on earth, Pope Leo XIV lives a life that echoes humility. No lavish banquets, no extravagant palaces, just quiet moments and simple meals shared in modest dining halls, while the world watched him ascend to unimaginable heights. He remained grounded, choosing plain white robes over ornate garments, choosing to walk the humble paths where others might seek applause. Because for him, greatness isn't measured by the weight of a crown, but by the lightness of a compassionate heart. And sometimes it's in the simplest of rooms, with a single chair and a window cracked open to the morning air, that the greatest decisions are made. So now you know the untold moments, the hidden paths that shaped the man known today as Pope Leo XIV. But here's the real question. Which of these stories touched your heart the most? Was it the simplicity of his leadership, the speed of his rise, or the quiet moments of service no one ever saw? If his journey inspired you, imagine how many lives you might touch by simply sharing this story. So go ahead, leave a comment below. Tell us which fact surprised you the most, And don't forget to like this video. Subscribe for more stories that remind us that greatness often begins in the most unexpected places. Until next time, stay curious and keep believing that your own untold story is just waiting to change the world.